Everything You Know Is Wrong is brought to you by UReach. Want to volunteer internationally? Take the trip of a lifetime. Eat the world's best tacos in Baja, California, Mexico. Learn to surf in Nicaragua, Central America. Pet a lion in Zambia, Africa. All while doing something amazing to change the world. Housing, water, education. UReach.global is your portal to reach farther than you ever imagined. Student Reach. Coaching for students, resources for parents, student presentations that really change things, trips for students, and more. StudentReach.org is where reaching your potential begins. You can support the show at everythingyounknowiswrong.show/support or patreon.com/everythingyounknowiswrong. Show notes, video, and more at everythingyounknowiswrong.show. Let's do this.
Everything you know is wrong.
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak.
It's important to remember one thing. You're wrong.
You are dead wrong.
You're wrong.
Ooh, you smell that? It smells like someone's wrong.
Everything you know is wrong. Everything you know is wrong. Everything you know is wrong.
Hey, welcome to Everything You Know Is Wrong,
Where the blind lead the blind.
and we question everything.
Everything. What's up, everybody? This is our first episode ever. Hopefully
right.
you've been salivating, right, Jeff? They've been salivating at the mouth.
yeah.
Going, we can't wait for this to come out because we want to hear the two of you talk so bad.
I think that's probably exactly where people are at, Robbie. They just can't wait. And if you're hearing this 4 years after it was originally recorded, I know that you're still excited about what we're doing here. And, we just wanted to talk in this first. We have a great interview, by the way, with Dr. Scott Hagan talking about leadership, which I know is such a tired subject. But this will not be tired.
We will not be disappointed. Matter of fact, Jeff, we have a bunch of amazing guests. I even think as we're talking now on our very first episode in the pipeline, what we have coming, you guys are really in for a huge treat. So quickly, let me just jump into this. Me and Jeff have known each other for several decades. He is really, and I'm going to embarrass him a little bit because this will happen through every episode, but he's like a uncle, big brother. The truth is we're not like super far apart in age, but he really has been like a mentor, a friend. And just a great guy. We've known each other like for very, very long time and just different points. And then I changed in my life, big change. My wife was like, I want to chase my dream to be a nurse. And I was like, well, I got my career, but I'm going to homeschool the kids. I'm going to do that and put my career kind of and make that my career. And then Jeff just said, hey, I do a lot of amazing work all over the world. I'd love for you to come be a part of it. And you know what? We have room for your kids to be a part of it. And he put his money where his mouth was, like literally and figuratively and metaphorically. But like it just really brought us in. And I see the vision. He's a visionary, a leader, and a creative, if you don't know who he is. And I am also several of those things. And so we get to really put our passions together. And everything we're doing with this, Everything You Know Is Wrong podcast, is literally to help us go and reach more people locally, globally, around the entire planet. And Jeff has been doing that for several decades very, very well. And we are going to use this as a platform to interview amazing leaders, speakers, people that are doing amazing things in the world, while we also, Jeff and I and our families and so many others who are already involved, to actually go and serve and be better and help others be better. Jeff, what have you been doing for decades that we are going to pump like crazy through this podcast?
Yeah, so super cool. And I just wanted to say, too, at the beginning of this, that the reason why I wanted to do this with Robbie is apparently I'm a big enough narcissist that I wanted to do a podcast, but not so big that I thought I could do it myself.
No.
And Robbie and I sit around and have these conversations where I just think people would listen and go, what was that? And I thought, well, it won't be boring.
If nothing else, and listen, you guys, we are raw on this show. We are not goofing around. You will learn over time some of our stories. And one of my stories is I was leading at a very, very big, large mega church for a long, long time. And I have not a whole lot of negative things to say, to be quite honest. But what I can tell you is I burn out. I went through a crazy life transformation, and we'll get into some of that. But Jeff was there for me through a lot of that. And he led and guided. And we realized we want to be able to give back to others.
Yeah.
And we both love to talk, and we don't know everything, but we know a lot about a little bit. No, I'm just kidding. But we've been working with people for decades. Jeff, a few more than me, but listen, We are excited about this, and it's not going to just be us talking the whole time. I know this one's a little long, and you're probably like, skip to the interview. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah,
But Jeff has been doing some amazing work. I've been able to jump in now and say, hey, I want to give my life to some of that too. And you're going to have an opportunity throughout this entire podcast, while we're trying to bring amazing information and leadership and so much knowledge to you, we also want to let you come and be a part and join us in what we're doing, because it's pretty cool. Jeff, a little bit about what we're doing, what you started, what you've been doing, and then let's get in this interview. I love it.
Yeah. So actually, I'm coming to you from the Brinsfield Barn studio here. So actually coming from a giant barn, and I believe Robbie is in his garage.
In my garage, man.
But hey, listen.
Down in here.
I represent the Reach Group, and it's a series of 3 different nonprofits right now, and we do a ton of different stuff. And I've had the opportunity to speak to more than 1 million students from 40 countries and 40 states, most of them in public schools. We've been a part of sex trafficking. We'll do an interview about that. We've worked with the FBI, the CIA, the NFL. Just crazy stuff. We have coaching programs. We've taken more than 3,000 mostly at-risk students through coaching programs, and we'll talk more about that and how you can actually sign up for one of those coaching programs, sign up for a teenager. And then, excitingly, we have taken more than 10,000 people to more than 40 countries, and we have major projects going in rural Baja California. We take you where the world is different and there's no indoor plumbing, and people live on dirt roads, to the San Quintin Valley. Incredible stuff happening there. We're building a summer camp. We have a women's shelter. We have a volunteer base that you can come. Robbie leads family trips, so I take trips with teenagers.
We will serve in 3 major countries several times a year, and you will hear about it a lot, because we have different types of trips to get every single person involved who wants to do something different and leave an imprint on this planet. Guys, we have one life, and I'm coming down to the last 40 years of mine, 40 good ones. I'm in the gym. I'm up in the gym
lucky.
working. If I'm lucky. That was my next line. Forget you, bro. No, I mean that seriously. If I'm lucky. And guess what? That means Jeff has less, barring tragedy. Now listen, and we're not talking light about that. The reality is, listen, and we're going to get into some stuff, obviously, Jeff, even personally in your life, of what loved ones that we've lost way too soon. Here's the deal. Time is short. So we want to talk. We want to have fun. We want to be a mode of inspiration and positivity, a good place you can come and check in and learn and not feel depressed, maybe actually even get out of your depression. And we're excited you're here, and we think you're going to love it. Jeff, who are we interviewing? Very first one, baby. I'm so excited.
Okay, so the first one, and we've got a lot of great interviews this first season. And we're doing a season format, by the way, which means we're going to do about 10 weeks, and we'll drop those every Tuesday. We're going to do about 10 weeks, and you can look at it on YouTube or on our social media or just audio, and we're going to be in iTunes and Spotify and all the places where you get those. And then we're going to just have some fill-ins in between there. I got some other cool stuff. I'm launching a book on this same thing of Everything You Know Is Wrong, and we'll put some of those audiobook chapters in there, and then we'll bring up season 2. But this first season, man, help me out, Robbie. We cover coffee and overcoming obstacles and aviation,
sex trafficking, aviation. We talk about the NFL, professional football. We get into a lot of different things. And not even that, though. I'm looking at the pipeline of who's coming. And then not only that, but hey, you guys, you're listening. We're going to have you shout out people you may want us to interview. And obviously, Elon Musk might take a couple months, but we'll work on it,
Yeah.
But seriously, it's going to be very, we're going to let you guys be a part of this, because this is what it's about. It's about building a community who's literally just trying to bring joy, positivity into the world and change people's lives. And we all can do it. And it doesn't take that very much.
And I got to say, too, man, we've had a lot of really cool people talk about a lot of really cool stuff. But we've actually really had some tough conversations, and people after the interview go, whoa, you kind of, dropped me out there and really got me to talk about some stuff I do not talk about.
Oh, man, I didn't want to start off the first show with correcting you, Jeff, but correction. You actually asked those questions.
That's right.
I'm the good cop. And by the way, there's no bad cop, but we do, fair warning. It's not just like, tell us all like we ask hard questions, I mean, maybe they're not as hard as you would like to hear, but they're definitely pushing the envelope for fun.
I'll give you a couple examples. All right. So we talk about George Floyd in this episode coming up.
Yeah.
And we talked about, with John Jackson, who is president of a college here in the Sacramento area, about, is there even any future for higher education?
Future of higher education to a college president. I know, that was a fun one.
We talked to Josiah DeGuara, who was almost redshirted his first year because he hurt himself in the NFL and in the drama of the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers and everything that's going on. And we talked about race in the NFL. And most controversially, between Robbie and I, we had an expert on coffee, and I told him that I thought the best drip coffee out there was not Starbucks or Peet's or any of those, but actually McDonald's, and he agreed with me.
I can't believe he did, but he did. And I'm not I don't hate McDonald's. Hey, listen, we're so glad you guys are here. Please subscribe, like, share this with friends if you enjoy it, and we hope that you do. Who are we interviewing?
And I should say, get on the emailing list, okay? Everything you know is wrong.show. Yeah, everything you know is wrong.show. Sign up for the email.
Even if you hate it, just sign up on the email.
This is how we support it, by selling you your email to Ethiopian princes.
We are not even nearly they're going to believe you, Jeff. They don't know.
We let you know opportunities to go on trips with us, different things along those lines. We probably wouldn't email you more than 10 times a year, so it's not going to be a thing. But even, there's contests that are going to be going on there. So everything you know is wrong.show. We should get into this.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dr. Scott Hagan.
Everything knows wrong about leadership. All right, here we go. We're with President Dr. Scott Hagan, president of North Central University in Minneapolis. And of course, my friend who agreed we would never get somebody this good if we weren't friends with people, Rob.
No.
How you doing?
We got lucky.
How's it going, Scott?
Good. Put on my coat for you today, Jeffrey. And Rob.
Now, Minneapolis. This is, you and I for 10 years had breakfast at least like twice a month. But now, since this is like, going out to the public, do I have to call you Dr. Hagan or President Hagan or anything like that?
No, Jeffrey, you never have anyway. So we might as well not start now. So.
When you're the president of a university, is your car or, is that Air Force One? I mean, is it like, is that, do you do the Air Force One stuff and do you like madam and.
Are you asking if they have a private jet?
Yeah, no, the car, do you call it by special, like does the elevation of your car status go up? Do you ever have to pay taxes again? Or is that just the president of the United States of America? I'm just being funny.
I got a very nice Mazda that I drive. And so it's nice. It's cool.
I like it.
People, I will tell you this. I know we're talking, won't get too serious, but people do get awed once they find out you carry this title. It's different than being a pastor because, pastors like, well, are you a good one or a bad one? What kind are you? And then people kind of judge on their own. This word president, you could be the president of Delta Airlines, the president of the United States, president of a college. People kind of get a little odd about it. And I had a guy tell me that you have a better chance of making an NFL roster. There's like 1,800 roster spots, but there's only 1,700 fully accredited four-year public and private universities. It's tougher to get this job than make the NFL. So people get a little squirrely sometimes. And it's been fascinating to observe it. It's interesting how people react to the title.
Well, that's actually really interesting because, the title of our podcast is Everything You Know Is Wrong. And today we want to talk to you about everything you know about leadership is wrong. But I mean, this is really a situation, right? Because people not only expect you to be really smart because most presidents of colleges start out as academics, meaning that they're professors or something along those lines, but also they expect you to be like the wise guru problem solver of all issues, right?
Yeah, it's definitely a multifaceted job. It's about mission, money, and morale. That's the three things a president does: mission, money, and morale. That's my very simple dashboard. But it is an interesting. I did a my PhD study was on. I studied the presidency. It was called Becoming President through Gonzaga. They'll pitch there for Gonzaga.
Yeah.
I still had some basketball. I still had some basketball eligibility, but it just didn't pan out there.
I wonder if I have eligibility for anything.
I love my Zags, man, right now. But it's interesting. I studied the derailment of presidents. That's just kind of a nerd word for the job isn't what I thought it was. I'm going to quit after 2 or 3 years, or we aren't who you thought you were, and we're going to fire you after 2 to 3 years. So involuntary derailment of this, and people that have been in the academy their whole life on the administration side have always aspired to this job. And here's some guy that was a pastor for 38 years who never thought about being a college president becomes one. So there was a little rub there with some in the academy, like,
oh, for sure. That's crazy.
I've been wanting to do this for 30 years.
Yeah.
What? How's this work?
Interesting. The ego. Yeah.
It is interesting to analyze how people get into these spots and then why the dissatisfaction once you get there. And I think one of the things that everything you know about leadership is wrong is that we've spent the last 20 years, everybody going, notice me, notice me, notice me, notice me. And really, they weren't recognizing the examination, not the noticing. So now everybody's saying, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. So trying to get people to notice you is really a misnomer, because it comes back to bite you, because all those people noticing you are now examining you. Yeah. And people don't like the examination. So now they're trying to find out, how do I get back into a place of some obscurity in this public role? And I don't want my leadership examined at this level. I don't want everything I do examined at this level, which is natural to a spot like this. So it's a crazy, wonderful role, though.
That's kind of an interesting place in society, right? Because we used to have people that agreed, hey, these kinds of people are great leaders. Like I remember Norman Schwarzkopf after the first, in the 90s, he wrote a book called It Doesn't Take a Hero. And everybody thought that he was a good leader. Now, I mean, is there anybody that everybody thinks is a good leader? And they're just a couple exposés away, right?
Yeah.
No, without a doubt, Jeff. In all this like-mindedness that we thought we had, now we don't even like the people that we thought we were like-minded with. It is so distorted, deconstructed, scattered. There's a powerful article in the New York Times this last weekend by a guy named David Brooks. He writes it's about the dissenters trying to save the evangelical movement. And actually, I was part of an event that is talked about inside this article of the Times. But he does a really good job. If you have access to last Sunday's New York Times by David Brooks, it's a great article. It's a long read. It was 4 pages in the Times. But he really used powerful language about the shredding of everything that we have known relationally our whole life, and things we never could have imagined people breaking from our relationships are breaking. And things that we thought were lifelong, now we found out it had a shelf life. And so the disorientation and the suspicion and the defensive posture to embrace something new. I was telling some leaders the other day, there's a despair that I've seen where people have already exhausted the potential of the idea they've yet to imagine. I'll say that again. People already feel they've exhausted the potential of the idea they've yet to imagine. Meaning, why try? Why come up with something new? It's only going to end in ruins. So people aren't even trying to dream anymore because they're already playing it out. And they're going, the whole potential's already been realized. I haven't even thought of it yet. All I'm doing is laying the foundation for ruins. I know this is a Debbie Downer, gloom and despair.
No. I mean, even scientifically, right? Like it's proven that your brain naturally, even your subconscious, is scanning around going, that's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah.
That could be dangerous. Yeah. That could, and you start to just whittle your way out of it, from grandiose businesses and being entrepreneurial to this morning going, do I want to hit the 9:45 class? I don't know, man. It was hard. I'm gonna have to do those squats. She's gonna yell Robbie in the back because I'm the only guy in the class. I mean, it's gonna be tough. I'm trying to make you guys laugh a little, but your brain naturally is constantly. So you're right. That's right on the money. I got to read that.
Oh, yeah. And so what does that mean when you play this thing out for institutional leadership? That was, again, part of my dissertation was, what are the implications if nobody wants to get in this space because they've already played it out? Like, why do I want to be in that space? So the idea of back to universities and colleges, the provost used to rise up as a dean, and then a provost, then the president. Well, the provosts don't want to be presidents anymore. They just rather stay in that number 2 space. Like, why would I? Yeah. Why am I going to do this to myself? It's ending badly for everybody that gets into this space. So, man, but what does that mean for the leadership landscape and people and really leading institutions? And then you just have the dumbing down of everything. All the excellence begins to die. I studied the turnover rate is about 3.5 years now. It used to be 17 years presidents used to lead universities. Now it's on 3.5 years. So is that the new kind of the dissipative world that we live in that requires innovation, entrepreneurialism? But what does it mean for the students, not the president, the students that are being educated in a culture of turnover? So they never get to see policy and culture developed. So they don't know what a well-developed culture ever feels like because it starts over every 3 years. New teams, new ideas. So they then go into their professional life, their career, without ever witnessing great leadership culture. They just haven't seen it because the turnover rate is crazy.
Part of it has to be this idea of this great guru. We've got these CEOs that they pay them $40 million a year or something. I saw a study not too long ago. I forget who did it. Maybe we can get it in the show notes. But it took rocket scientists and brain surgeons and then took their IQ scores. And they were only maybe 5 or 6 points higher on an IQ test than
on average. Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And it sort of gets rid of the myth of, the Obi-Wan Kenobi who knows everything and can do magic with the Force. And yet we keep trying to find people. I know because we're friends, you went through this massive search, right? Where they hired this big company that this is all they do is searches. And I have a friend that's what his business is he just does executive search, and we're trying to find this guru, but I'm not sure the gurus really exist.
No. I think it comes down to this. The talent of a great leader is their ability to spot talent and collide with it. And it's your ability to convene. That's if you're gonna change culture. And I also think that we're out in front of our ski tips. We're talking about culture too much when really we should be talking about atmosphere. If you don't win the atmosphere, what's that? It's this conversation right here. If I don't come across as likable, and if I don't give you the sense that our relationship has some kind of future, then the warmth, if it's not there, we'll never get to culture because we lost atmosphere. So we have all this generation trying to change culture, and they have no skill set to develop atmosphere.
So talk about that for a second, though, because, great leaders are people that are able to extend their influence beyond their relationships, beyond their social structure, right? I think the average person can maintain about maybe 70 relationships as an adult. And so you see organizations like we're both familiar with churches where that they got 70 or 80 people in a church. And if they can't expand beyond that social group, they can't go further than that. So talk about the difference between, can't that be phony, right? That you're pretending you have a bunch of relationships out there that can't really be maintained.
Yeah. And I think the mystery and the science of notability or being memorable, because the bottom line is influence outside that 70. How do you get those 70 people to repeat what you've said after you've said it 3 days later, and then make someone else intrigued by what you said or make them curious about you, even though you're 3 days removed from their presence? That, I don't think anybody understands that. Why people are memorable, and why other people then start telling rumors, good, positive rumors about that person or that experience they had with you. I mean, I think it begins with warmth and it begins with having insights. Creativity. Yeah, there's a lot of creative things out there. I think editorial is bigger than creativity. You got to figure out what not to use in this day and age, not just what to use. I think everybody's trying to be creative, but no one knows how to practice editing and put it and package it together. I don't know what makes people notable, Jeff, and makes them memorable or influential outside that 70, beyond that 70. But yes, if you're going to build something, you got to have people talking about something you said or talking about their encounter with you 2 and 3 days removed from the encounter. And what creates that?
Well, one of the interesting things is you've written a couple of books on leadership at this point. What's the name of your latest book, Scott?
The book is called The Language of Influence and Personal Power. That's the general leadership one, but I just have a brand new book that I'm more excited about. It's called On Call Heroes, and it is a gift book for first responders in America. 600 Chicago police officers were given this 2 weeks ago. It's a beautiful hardback book. It's a kind of a time life book. It's a gift book. I wrote the captions of short stories, but it's for firefighters, nurses, doctors, first responders, everybody that's held this country together for 2 years. I think I was supposed to be on Fox and Friends with this book, but there's been a shortage of cardboard in America. Who knew? That has kept them from 100,000 of these books. So there's only been 10,000 in print, and I can't go on the national shows till the cardboard is there for the publisher. So I'm sure it's in some boat off Long Beach right now, the cardboard.
After this podcast, it's going to be a problem too.
Yeah.
I know.
Hey, don't forget, my wife's a nurse, so I'll be checking the mail. No, so it's a gift book, right? It's a gift book.
So your most famous book, and as a matter of fact, do I have this right? You spoke to Canadian Parliament. Is that correct?
Say that again.
You speak to Canadian Parliament in some way?
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess that went real well for Canada. Let's see how that's played out. So
looks like they could use your help these days.
Funny.
There's some great leadership going on in Canada, but it's called the
book's gone. Yeah, the Green Bay Packers, a lot of pro teams use it. Warren Buffett's energy company guy, who's now the head of PG&E in California, Adam Wright. Wow. He was the head of Midwestern Energy. He got 1,000 of these for all of his managers across the. It's been really cool.
So one of the things as we talk about that though is that when you not only are a prominent leader. Speaking across the country, various things. But you write a book on leadership. You want to talk about examination. Now, every person you're dealing with in one way or another is, hold on just a second. I got to, somebody didn't, someone didn't take care of their phone. We'll have to edit that. Let me go back in. Sorry.
Doesn't she know we're busy?
She'll apologize, even though there's no way she could know. All right, get back. So when you write a book on leadership, you were talking about examination earlier. Every leader that you engage with, maybe not normal people, but in leaders that you engage with, they're thinking, okay, mister, what, you put yourself out there as the all-knowing guru of leadership. Let's see what you got.
That's why you want to probably write it in your write it in your 50s and not in your 20s. So I think a lot of the maxims, the book has 500, maxims in it about leadership. And these are things that I feel fairly confident I practice, and that my kids and my wife would say, yeah. And the people I've worked with, these are authentic to Scott's leadership practice. I'm not all bound up to be perfect in it. But it's a great thing you say, because it is true that hypocrisy piece, is very big. And I write about that even in this book, in my leadership sayings. But yeah, it does bring an examination. But I also think the discipline of writing deepens, and it's a way of holding you accountable. I told someone today, they're going, accountability. What is accountability? I said, I just look at it this way. Here's what accountability is. It's me knowing that somebody is counting on me. So I'm not going to start looking at this filth on the internet because my boys are counting on me that their dad would not do this. So when someone is counting on me, that's how I view accountability. Like, man, these people are looking to me to be legit, and I don't want to send shockwaves through my family tree of illegitimacy, and then deal with that anxiety of that I have disappointed my grandsons and grandpa. So knowing that they count on me is my accountability. My wife's counting on me. That's part of my accountability. My church is counting on me. So that's what accountability is for me personally.
Yeah.
So your book is actually filled with, like you said, maxims or sayings that are actually sort of like, you think leadership is this, but it's really this. I love the one on vulnerability. I don't know. I can't quote it off the top of my head. Maybe you can
You
quote
didn't memorize it.
I know. Maybe you can quote it. But essentially you said that you think people are drawn to you because of your invulnerability, but people are drawn to you because maybe you can say it better.
Yeah, people connect with your struggle long before they connect with your success. And that's one of the ideas there, that we think people connect with our success. They don't. They may listen to it, but they don't connect with it. They connect with your struggle before they connect with your success. And unless, another way I've said it too, is that the moment I talk about my personal changes is the moment I become a change agent. So a change agent is not a change agent until they can speak freely of their own changes. And then it unlocks a real verification of your life. Like, okay, I'm going to kind of lean in and look a little closer, and I'm going to listen to your insights and actually trust them again in this fraudulent world, because you've spoken of we call that a testimony of transformation in our life. But I think people, they want to see a legitimate, I also say in the book, 4 most important words in leadership is let there be light. Let there be light.
So what do you think, are the biggest, if we were going to say, hey, what you know about leadership, what you think you know about leadership is wrong, what do you think is maybe the biggest misconception about being a leader?
Is that you've got to realize it and go for it early and big and get started on influence right now, and somehow publicly measure influence early in your life. People ask Karen and I all the time, how'd you get from point A to point B? Well, I'm turning 60 this year, Jeff. Can you believe that? And halfway to 120. And
hey, I'm turning 40 this year.
So
I got 2 big days
for
us.
We have very good. So people see Karen and I, we have energy, we're youthful, we hang around with people that are younger, like Jeff and Robbie here. And so people don't see us as 60 per se. So they think we're the same age. So when I'm with a 40-something leader connecting, we're like-minded, we're hanging out. So we kind of think we're the same age, and they don't realize what 20 more years of just, leadership is about putting 1,000 days that look exactly the same together in a row.
Yeah.
There's something about today that has to look just like yesterday. And there's something about tomorrow that has to look just like today. This is what's tough for millennials and Zs, is putting that string of days together in the hundreds, a couple thousand of these days that all have a similarity to them. There really is a boring cadence to success in life, or what I would say fruitfulness. Even if you're an adventurous person, there's something that's predictable about your life that looks like it is. So Karen and I put in 30 years without social media, raising kids, getting up, praying with Joe Elston, paying our tithe, serving, setting up chairs, 30 years of that all they see now is kind of these years of convergence or reward. So they feel badly about the speed of their life. Like, man, it's not actualizing for me. I'm 40 and I'm still, I don't, maybe what Scott's doing, I'm 60. So I think what we think about leadership that's wrong is that we're moving too fast, too soon, because fast is slow, slow is fast. Fast is slow, slow is fast. When I try to strive early for something, I got, if I haven't changed the world, by age 30, I feel like my life I'm a loser. Um, so there's a lot of misconception, Jeff, early on with passion, dreams, vision, go for it, the whole passion dream generation, that something big has to happen by the time I'm 40 or my life, I'm off track. It's a lie, a total lie. Most of that shows up later in convergence and reward in your life. But I just think so many young people are trying to have a big hit early in their 20s and 30s to prove that they're a leader. And I just think they're setting themselves up for depression.
Sure.
I've had some success in my life doing some things, and I've found myself with younger people. And, a lot of times they've wanted to meet with me to figure out, how do we raise this kind of money or speak to these kind of people or lead these kinds of things. And, there's a lot of times I've sat down with them and I said, when you're at that conference and you see somebody speaking to 2,000 people and you look up, you think, if that was me, I would feel different about myself. And then you really don't, but you've got a lot more years on me than that. So speak to how your inner life interacts with what people perceive, and how, as you rise up in your leadership and your influence, how, what are the misconceptions about what that means to you as a person and in your family relationships?
Yeah, you're going into the deeper science of the mental health, or what I call coping, or mitigating the aging process of leadership. And I think this is where I kind of spend most of my life coaching executive leaders right now, kind of guys that are 40 something, early 50s. They see me out about 10 years. And to a 20 something right now, when I show up with Karen, and we're healthy and we're happy. We've been married 40 years, and my 4 adult children walk out happily married, and 11 grandchildren. They look at me like I just built Facebook. Like, how in heaven's name did you pull this off? What? So it looks so far-fetched from where they're at in life. And there's like a million things are going to go wrong that could sabotage what I'm looking at. So the great family is the new Facebook. It is the new Microsoft. People go like, I don't know how you did that. You building a longevity of your family. So back to the inner life, the coping with the aging process and understanding your contribution in these different stages is critical. I told someone today, they said, what's your hope for leadership? I said, you know what, honestly, I just want to continue to develop into a faithful elder. So to become an elder, not older, but an elder, there's so many things that went right in life to be recognized as an elder, not just being older, but recognizing the lifespan, the contribution, the seasoning. So actually, I'm aspiring to be recognized as a faithful elder in my life, that has a contribution of being able to smile and bless. You can do things far more quickly the older you get, because you can see more quickly. And again, when you're older, here, I think this is the key, Jeff, to the mental health, the coping, the inner life, is that am I still on the screen there?
Yeah.
Right there. Did that work? Okay. The inner life is all about, as an older person, the scripture tells older people train younger people. But most of the time, older people go from past to present, not present to future, meaning that we're living in this shared space, but I'm going to travel back to the 1970s. I'm going to grab some stuff from the 70s and bring it into 2022. And I need you to do some of the stuff from the past here in the present. The healthy elder as you grow older is we travel to the future because we understand scripture, because we understand life, spiritual life, where this whole thing's headed, not where it's come from, where it's headed. We travel from the future back to the present and we prepare the generation for what's ahead instead of trying to shape the present generation with what lies behind. And I would say most people sitting in spiritual settings, the old people, they always go present to the past, back to the present. When the healthy leader travels from the present to the future, back to the present. And we're helping this generation see what's ahead, not where we've been. And I think that really, if I can stay in that lane, Jeff, and continue to mitigate aging as a leader, I'll stay relevant. You become more of a sage than stage. And you have to be cool with that the older you get, where people are leaning into your stories, your help, but you're not trying to dominate the creativity of the moment, because our creativity, come on. But what we do possess is this ability to see what's coming and to give that information to the current generation. What they do with it, who knows? But I don't know if we're anywhere even tapping on the question, but
Yeah, well, it kind of leads me to another question. So, like
I forgot what the question was.
Yeah.
So I think you did great.
So here's the thing. So, this is like the view from the outside. So, Scott, somebody like you could say, hey, you should do this and this and this and this. But listen, we know some of the same people. And I think there's a sense about you of, hey, listen, you're 6'4". You played basketball in college on scholarship. You still have hair in your 60s. You can stand up with 2 minutes of notice and captivate a crowd. You're just a natural speaker. And here's the thing I tell people that people say, well, what's the story with Scott Hagan? I'll say, you want to know one of the things people don't realize? Scott Hagan is one of the world's most likable human beings.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. So somebody can look at you, Scott, and say, well, write all the books you want, but you are an extremely naturally talented person. But it sounds to me like what you're saying is, sure, that's true, but the belief system and then living by those beliefs is more important beyond a moral code, a series of good long-term decisions.
No, it's really good.
No, Jeff, you're right. And I appreciate the kind compliments, but I would say this, it is all about decision-making, not natural talent. Because we've all seen in an athletic sense, people with great talent that are out there, drinking all night, smoking weed and running around, and it just collapses on them. And I think natural talent probably gets you to your 40s, but decision-making takes you the second half of your life. Now you're honing your talent. Your talent still is evident. It's still there. You're cultivating your talent. You're trying to be a good steward of your communication skills or whatever it is. And, but it's your decision making, because, a marriage of 40 years, there's women who have left and divorced a lot better looking men than me. So
Richer too.
Yeah. They have made terrible decisions with their life that has deconstructed the momentum of their life. And I really do think that 45 thing, very few people develop north of 45. Most people deteriorate north of 45. And I don't mean in just like a pop culture midlife crisis concept. Most people, because what happens is we start accumulating more negative than positive. The people around us, more people fail than succeed that we know. So fewer and fewer people go the distance that we've known. And so we're accumulating, like Caleb when he left Egypt at age 40 with Moses. Everybody his age died out there. So he's accumulating despair and people that didn't go the distance. It says, though, when he was 85, him and Joshua were the only ones that go through all the way. They're 85 now. The oldest person in the entire country is 65. I can prove that in the Bible. There's no 70-year-olds in Israel. Caleb is 85. He said, I'm as strong today as I was when I was 40, for going out, for coming in, for going to war. He's stronger. He said, give me the hills, give me the giants. So we can develop, even if we are immersed in a world that's deteriorating. This is what you have to see. Some people think I got to get into a good setting. If I'm around good people, I'll become good. No, you can search for that all you want. If that's your leadership methodology, I got to find a great environment to grow. Man, I can show you Caleb. His entire environment was decay, and he developed. So somehow a leader has to figure out to transcend their environment to grow.
I would say too, to anyone that doesn't know you, any conversation, we're at 34 minutes. I'm surprised we made it this far before we got to an Old Testament parable.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Hagan.
We almost got out of here squeaky clean, but no.
You're like a Jewish rabbi in another life. I mean, we always.
I was going to say, is that from the Pentateuch?
Hey, so talk about what's and I, who knows? Maybe we won't. I could tell you we won't publish this, so no one would even know. But what's one of the toughest leadership decisions you've ever had to make?
Well, 2 syllables. George Floyd was the toughest leadership decision I ever had to make in my life. City's burning. Floyd was killed on Chicago. We're on Chicago here in downtown Minneapolis. It's during COVID. And I get a phone call from the family. They have no place to go to host the George Floyd funeral. And so we're 6 months out from the election. The country is as raw, polarized. Are we headed towards civil war? What's going on? Minneapolis is burning to the ground. Every city now is on fire within 5 days of Floyd's death. Paris is on fire. London, the whole world knows George Floyd. And so they had no place to hold the funeral. And, you're by yourself. And I was in my apartment. Karen was in Sacramento. I was here in Minneapolis. And you're holding your phone. And you're going to text somebody back. You're going to say yes or no. One syllable. Either way. And you're trying to figure out what's on the other side of my thumb. What's the ramification of this syllable or this syllable? And you have 5 minutes to make a decision. And so I said YES instead of NO. And I said, let me confirm with my board chairman and my executive committee that we can do this because it's during COVID. So we did it in 72 hours. We mobilized a global event, with, they say 100 million was the viewer on CNN with all of the check-ins around the world and 2 billion social media hits in 60 minutes from around the world checking in on the Floyd funeral. And so most in human history, there's not been a social media event that was checked in more globally than George Floyd.
Wow.
More than the World Cup, more than everything. And so all of that happened, the fallout, the intensity, it was all there. But I knew that history would serve us well because in our heart, we were seeking to be compassionate. And at the end of the day, again, if I could go into the Old Testament, 2 Kings, Elisha is asked by the woman, my husband's dead, they're selling my 2 sons into slavery. And Elisha utters 4 of the greatest words in all of the scripture. How can I help?
Yeah.
He doesn't say, how do I prophesy? How do I lead? He says, how do I help? And so that was the posture. How do we help? And knowing that we're motivated by help and motivated by compassion, I knew that history would smile on the event. And it has. I mean, I just got back from Princeton. We're talking about a wonderful potential partnership. I could go on and on. Over $50 million for the Floyd Scholarship around the nation. So, but that's on the other side of a yes or no by yourself in your apartment with your phone in your hand. You got to figure out. You got to make the call. You're a gatekeeper, and you got to make this decision.
Well, it's not like that was exactly we talked before about, not even agreeing with the people we agree with. I mean, and I have a close friend who left his church because they gave to the George Floyd Scholarship, and saying, we're going to make this guy out to be a hero. He was a criminal. He was a drug addict, on and on and on. How are we making this guy out to be a hero? And I know you have an explanation for that we're trying to put people in places of leadership that are from those kinds of places so that we don't have more tragedies. But I mean, not exactly a popular decision among the people that have the most probably common political bent to you.
Yeah. And I would say, because Karen and I have had a strong reputation of being in that space of reconciliation, not necessarily justice.
Yeah.
We haven't been in the justice space. We've been in the reconciliation space, which are two different spaces. We've been more in that promise keepers reconciliation space. And the Lord has blessed, 25 years of diversity, but getting into the justice space was new, and it's been eye-opening. And, interesting, back to Floyd, I tell people, I said, he, arrested 7 times, gun, 2007, gets arrested in 2009, spends 4 years in prison, gets out of prison, does time, finds the Lord. And then 11 years goes by and he never had an encounter with a police officer. It had been 13 years since he committed that crime. So we have a lot of people in Teen Challenge like George Floyd. Yeah, hooked on fentanyl, painkiller. He wasn't selling it. He was taking it. And did I think he printed the 20? I don't think he has the equipment to do it. I passed 100 one time that was phony. You know what's fascinating? I mean, some of these things in life, you just can't make this stuff up. We launched this Floyd Scholarship. Yeah, it was controversial, and it wasn't to honor George Floyd. He lived an unrealized life, a tragic, sad life. It was simply to recognize the significance of the moment in America. And his name's attached, but by doing the scholarship, some people have been very petty, thinking, well, you're gonna create more drug addicts if you give money in his name. Like I said, think about how illogical your reasoning is. I said it's generated an enormous amount of money so that we can not see George Floyd's life repeated. We're not trying to repeat his life. We're trying to stop the repetition of his life. So, and most people get it. 99% of people said, okay, I get it. So, North Central, probably about $700,000 has been given.
Wow.
Just, $5 bills from grandmas all over the country is amazing. A couple $100,000 gifts in there from people who had no connection with the school. But nationwide, Penn State, Yale, University of Minnesota, Michigan, all these schools have launched these scholarships. We're guesstimating about $50 million. If you Google George Floyd, North Central, Forbes magazine, Forbes has a great expose on it, and it's just really powerful. But so we have 2 Floyd scholars. One's a Teen Challenge graduate. They're everything you could ever hope for in a young student in our denominational school. It's unbelievable. So we found out too that the young man who took the 20 at the counter has found his way and is a student at our school. And so here I have this great picture of the young recipient of the Floyd Scholarship mentoring the young man who took the 20, he was the first witness in the Chauvin trial, that was around the weeping, carrying the weight of the earth on him, felt like he lit the whole planet on fire. He should have just took the 20 and paid it. Found out he's a Christian kid, goes to an Assemblies of God church in Minneapolis, this kid. And he's made his way now to NCU. And so the story of this kid who felt like he started it is being mentored by a kid who's receiving it's crazy, but it's God. And that's how he orchestrates this. I know for some people, they don't think he works that intimately, but I believe he does. And it's been awesome to see it. But just lastly about Floyd, I think if we're driven by, I want to help, and our motive is compassion, history will always smile on those actions, even if the political theater, obscures it, first stages of it. Ultimately, that calms, and that compassion and being a good neighbor is what people remember.
Well, and small world, that young man came with us last summer to Baja, California to help build houses. And I talked to him about that situation then. I mean, so here is the question, though, just as we kind of wrap up. So regardless of everything that you just said being awesome and true, I still have friends who are huge fans of yours that completely disagree with that decision. So how do you balance that? I know it's easy to say, right? We're not going to live by popularity, right? We're going to make good decisions, but that's tough when you have relationships with people and here's the thing that I'm really trying to say. A lot of times, most leadership books that are out there, right? They tell stories about there was a tough decision and then I made a good decision and I brought everybody around. But in reality, that doesn't happen. And you have lots of people, even people who are fans of yours, who disagree with your leadership decision. And how do leaders live with that idea of, I'm trying to do what's right, I might get it wrong, but definitely it's not popular with everybody, even the people I like?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think this is the difference between being 50 and being 60. I think 50, I still remember being 40 or 39, which was close to 20. I still have a sense that I'm still part of something. I'm on the front side of youth and there's something in front. 60, there really is, I don't give a rat's behind. And
easy with the salty
people,
language
they're conflicted because at their core, yeah, the rat's patootie. I think the conflict is because they do love you and they know you and they don't understand that decision, but they do understand you.
Yeah.
And they still ultimately, they love and respect. Only one person's cut me off in their life. Most people says, man, I just don't understand. And then I explain it to them. And I said, we were just trying to have the heart of a pastor and to help alleviate suffering. And educational generosity is one of the great responses. I did have this. I do tell them this. I had a great black leader in Boston call me 3 days after the funeral. And he said, never met me. My name's Eugene Rivers. I'm the head of the Seymour Institute of Boston. I'm from Harvard. Wife teaches at Harvard. He goes, you're the first white person I ever gave a standing ovation to in my living room. He said, I couldn't wrap my head around how did George Floyd end up in an Assembly of God college? This is impossible. There's nothing that could bring these worlds together. But he said, now, I know most white people don't agree with you on this. He said, but I'm going to tell you the perspective I have. He says, and a lot of us in the black community have. The fact you let Floyd, this emblem of the hood, lay in your house and rest, took 50% of the violence out of the United States that day. Had he laid in a traditional, hyper-progressive setting, he said there could have been murder on the streets of America. The fact that you let him lay in your house was so confusing. And so he goes, I think it's the most disruptive racial act of kindness in 100 years in the United States for that guy to lay in your house. It was so disorientating that it took 50% of the violence out of the country.
That is, that's really something. It really is. He said, now white people don't agree with it, but I'm telling you, for us in the black community that love the Lord, he said, are in leadership and work in this space, it was that meaningful. Isn't that sometimes the key, right? I feel like so many leaders and politicians are trying to play to the people that already agree with them, and they're not getting more influence from those people. They already have all the influence they're ever going to get from those people. And it's making those tough decisions sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, hey, so
good stuff. We're gonna have you back for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, when the new book comes out, we'll get you again. People can get The Language of Influence, and what's the rest of the Personal Power?
Yeah, Personal Power.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. It was self-published. The New York publisher found my self-published book. He said, "Are you getting sued?" I said, "Sued for what?" I go, "Sir," he goes, "You have all these quotes in there, but no citations." And I said, "Why? I wrote them." He says, "You wrote 500 quotes." I said, "No, I have 1,500. I just put 500 in this book. I have another 1,000." He goes, "You own this?" I said, "No, I own it." Once I convinced him, then he said, we want to publish this book. And he changed the name to Language of Influence and Personal Power. I hated it. I said, "I don't like that second part." He goes, No, listen. you've completely changed the way I think about power. These little sayings have flipped my understanding of power. I see it
Authentic
differently
power.
now.
Yeah, that's good.
Based on
Personal
this.
power. I like that.
So he said, no, this is the name, friend. And I said, okay.
Well, I'll tell you something. I think a lot of people have probably read 50 books on leadership, and it's the same stuff on repeat. And if people are listening out there and you say, okay, I think what the world needs now is another book on leadership, like I need a hole in my head. This is so great because it's not the same thing. It's a way to wake up every day and read an important thought on leadership that probably, honestly, Scott, and kind of sounds like I'm blowing smoke here. Probably each one of those could be a chapter, right? And that's the way somebody would have wrote the book. Maybe you were lazier than that. I don't know.
No, I've been writing them, and then I saw this book of prayers from Mother Teresa where she had 2 little prayers on a book and mostly white page. I go, hey, this is how I'll do my book. I got a book of one-liners. So thank you, Mother Teresa. She was the
Well,
God bless her.
yeah, we're not patronizing anyone on that. No, seriously though, for leaders out there, honestly, get this book. You've been gracious to give me books, and I've given them away to other leaders that I'm investing in their life, and just open it every day and have a new download of leadership thoughts for the day. They really are like everything you know about leadership is
Yeah, they're
wrong.
beautiful little
Not
nuggets.
every day, but most days it's like, whoa, that's counterintuitive. And that's what leadership is really, right? If it was intuitive, then we wouldn't need leaders.
Yep. No, that's awesome. Yep. I'm glad it can be a blessing out there. So thank you guys.
Hey,
Thank you, sir.
and they can get it on Amazon. And how do people connect with you? Social media at Scott Hagan NCU, is that right?
Yeah, it's typically scotthagan.ncu
There you go.
Instagram or scotthagan.ncu on Twitter. But I do a lot of Instagram, Twitter. I'm on LinkedIn. I do a lot of professional connection on LinkedIn with leaders and a lot of cool stuff. A lot of wonderful things happening.
Well, awesome.
Right on.
People can. Hey, thank you so much, Scott. And I look forward to hanging out before too long.
You got it, buddy. Thank you. Good to see you, Robbie. God bless you, Jeff. Bye-bye.
Whew. All right. So I love that interview.
That was a great first show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. My goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
And I love it because that's the level. That's the transparency. That's where we're going. So it's just, you're going to not only just get a keen insight to what is going on in these people's lives and their leadership ability, but this one, right? Blow the roof off it. I knew it was going to be good, but I'm sitting here thinking to myself, how authentic, how transparent. I mean, I watched the George Floyd funeral and didn't even process, Oh my goodness. Didn't even process. It was right there.
I did, because a lot of people were reaching out to me. Knew Scott and I were friends, saying, why is he doing this? Why does he have Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and people like, so it was really interesting, like kind of looking back at that whole thing. And hey, listen, if you're listening to us, I just got to tell you something. There's almost like a cult of leadership thing out there. Everyone's, writing books about how they solved everything. Scott's book called The Language of Influence, Personal Power is not crap. It's really good.
It's good. And it's an easy read. You can grab nuggets at a time that are really impactful on the daily. So
it's super cool. And then we also want to say, hey, listen, get involved with what we're doing. So there's some great opportunities for you to go on trips with us, coaching. Go to everythingyouknowiswrong.show, sign up for the email, because there's going to be some exclusive offers that we're not even going to talk about during the podcast. And there's going to be some great opportunities there. So sign up. We promise to sell your email address to every junk email. No. We won't do any of that.
The truth is, we're only going to send stuff that really matters, that gives you an opportunity to either come serve yourself, be a part of what we're doing, or even just learn about what's going on in the world in and through the Reach Group. And we're just excited to be able to talk, interview these amazing leaders today. If today was any indication of how the entire series is going to go, I think we're going to have a good time. So please share this. Follow all of our accounts, our Facebook, our Instagram. Make sure you go and please to the website, everything you know is wrong .show. And if you follow us on any social platforms at YouReach Global, please friend us. You'll be able to see all of our updates. We're always putting stories on there. A lot of you probably already do, and that's how you got here. So welcome, welcome, welcome. We're glad you found us, but we're only getting started. Baby, you ain't seen nothing yet. Boom, boom. I'm excited.
That's right. Hey,
that was good.
Listen, this is gonna be awesome. So thank you for listening, and you should share it with other people for sure. You know, let a friend know. As one of my favorite radio hosts says, if you like the show, let other people know. If you don't, keep your mouth shut.
I like that. I like it.
All right, that's it.
If you really, really, love Dr. Scott Hagan, go to North Central University .edu and check out what he's doing. Check out what the school's doing, and
get his book on Instagram.
Get his book. Get his book.
It's really good.
Instagram, all over.
Yeah, and
we're so glad you're here. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks for listening to Everything You Know Is Wrong. Don't forget to rate the show in your favorite podcast app and tell a friend. It really does help. Visit our sponsors, studentreach.org, ureach.global. Follow us on Instagram at everythingyouknowiswrong.show. Click the links. You can support us there too. And at patreon.com/everythingyouknowiswrong. You can be more awesome.